All right, we've got to logically complete the text. So let's see if we can get a general sense of where this passage is headed, and then we'll introduce some idea at the end. Compiled in the late 1500s, largely through the efforts of indigenous scribes, Cantares Mexicanos is the most important collection of poetry in classical Nahuatl, the principal language of the Aztec Empire. So, okay, it's old, it's important, and it's in Nahuatl. Okay. The poems portray Aztec society before the occupation of the empire by the army of Spain, and marginal notes in Cantares Mexicanos indicate that much of the collection's content predates the initial invasion. So they're repeating themselves, so it's probably important, right? They're saying it's before the occupation and it predates the initial invasion, all right? Nonetheless, contrast word. Nonetheless, some of the poems contain inarguable references to beliefs and customs common in Spain during the era. Thus, some scholars have concluded that it's not from before the invasion or Spain came, right? They're saying it's predates the invasion. Then they're saying it includes stuff about Spain that could only have been there because of Spain. So maybe it's going to be like a little bit softer, but it's basically going to say that what we originally thought is wrong. Maybe only partly wrong, but there's definitely some sort of contrast here where some of it is going to become, some stuff is from after Spain. So not from before invasion, which is the same as saying after the invasion. So let's take a look at the choices. 16A. They've concluded that while its content largely predates the invasion, the Cantares Mexicanos also contains additions made after the invasion. After the invasion. Okay, so that seems pretty good. And it acknowledges that it's not completely wrong, but maybe just slightly wrong. So let's keep going, though, just to be sure. Although those who compiled Cantares Mexicanos were fluent in Nahuatl, they had limited knowledge of the Spanish language. Well, it's not about the language. The references to Spain are not necessarily Spanish words, so I don't know why the Spanish language matters. Plus, it's saying limited, right? This is almost contradictory to what our guess is, right? We want to say that Spain is part of this. This choice is kind of saying Spain is not part of this or is not a big part of this. So this is almost reversing what we're trying to look for. C, before the invasion by Spain, the poets of the Aztec Empire borrowed from the literary traditions of other societies. Well, maybe, but the Spanish society is the one we care about, right? So again, this is talking about, this is not saying that Spain was one of those other societies, but that's kind of what we need to say, is that there's something about Spain getting involved here. D, the references to beliefs and customs in Spain should be attributed to a coincidental resemblance between the society of Spain and the Aztec Empire. No. I mean, look, maybe some person who studies this would argue that, but like, we need to be really careful here because, they're not saying that. That might be a reasonable thing to say, but the implication here is that Spain did influence this in some way. So to say that it's just a coincidence, we would need evidence that they're like, there are these references, but we think it's just a coincidence, or we think that, maybe multiple societies had the same idea, but they're not saying that. They are inarguable. Maybe I should focus on that piece. All right, they're inarguable. You cannot say that it's just a coincidence. So they are just directly contradicting this idea. So A was it. And there again, my dumb summary, my understanding of where this thing was headed perfectly matched my answer choice, mostly because I captured the same idea. Not that I necessarily had the exact wording down. That's not our goal here with a dumb summary, but to see like, okay, where are they headed? And you do need to kind of predict that, because I don't think it's that any of these choices like sound good in that spot. It's not about how it sounds, it's about the logic. And so if we don't understand the logic up front, we're going to have trouble sorting through the choices at the end.